What? Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good evening, wherever you might be listening. My name is Omari Kamal. I am a senior advisor with P&G Advisors, and it's great to be with you all. I am here today with asset protection guru Kandi Keyes-Winford. Uh, this is our first ever podcast for what we're calling the Index Podcast, you all, and I couldn't think of a better co-host, guest to be with us than Kandi Keyes-Winford, and you'll find out why in just a moment. Just a little background, though, before we get into my introduction for Kandi. So, again, my name is Omari Kamal. P&G Advisors is short for Profit and Growth Advisors. So we are accountants, we are tax advisors, and we're also small business consultants. And what we're all about is exactly what our name would suggest: profit and growth. That's what we care about primarily. We know that you have lots of goals for your life. You have lots of things that your small business that you want your small business to do for you, but we have a couple of goals for you, no matter what those goals are. And that one, you be profitable, and two, that your business work as hard for you as you work for it. And what we believe fundamentally in our heart of hearts is that when you have a solid finance and accounting platform in place, that you will put yourself on a path to do just that, to move out of self-employment into small business ownership if you already have a business. And what we mean by having a business is that you can take off from your business, whether it be a month, a year, and the business will still be standing. What does that mean? That means you have systems, you have processes in place that are having your business have a life beyond you. But how do you do that? Well, you do that by measuring things. What do you measure? Well, the first thing we suggest that you measure is your money. And so for that reason, we believe that a solid financial advisor, accounting firm, accounting advisor, contract CFO, as we're called, would be there to partner with you to help you do that. Now, with that said, we recognize that this idea of building financial systems and processes is a very big subject. And what this Index podcast is designed to do, among other things, is to bring you the very best of the best of the best that we know in their respective categories, whether it be law or personal financial planning or estate planning or management consulting, or in this case, insurance planning, so that you can really know all there is to know about the various aspects of what it is that you're going to encounter as you continue to grow and to scale your business. So with that said, I bring y'all Kandi Keyes-Winford. Kandi is the founder and CEO of the Boss Insurance Group, mother of three, husband of one, avid Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I think that's important to know. Uh, avid Pittsburgh Steelers fan, dog mom, you name it. She's a woman of many talents, and she's also a guru and a maven in the world of insurance and assets protection. So, Kandi, look, thank you so much for being with me here now on my first ever
Thank you.
episode of the Index Podcast. I really appreciate you taking this on.
Thank
All
you.
right, so good. So, question for you, Kandi: what kind of tell the people? I know in one sense it might be obvious to some, but tell people why it's so important for, as a small business owner in particular, to have a knowledgeable, attentive, engaged professional as a partner in the insurance space.
Well, first of all, when you have your own business or small business, this is like your baby.
Mm,
And so you're actually making your baby, you're trying to mature your baby and make your baby grow. So
yeah,
you want to actually protect your baby. So you want to make sure that while you're making your baby grow, um, you're actually protecting it. And when I say
yeah,
protecting, I'm like, so whether you have products, whether you do operations or you have services or you're providing services, products, or you're doing operation, you want to make sure that you're protecting that just in case um you're out there and something happens where there might be a lawsuit that might come your way.
Yeah.
We live in a time where everybody wants to sue. So,
Mm,
with that being said, you want to make sure that that risk doesn't fall on your business, fall on you. You want to make sure that that risk falls on the insurance company. So, you want to
yeah.
make sure it's properly insured so that you can protect your business while you're actually maturing your business and making your business grow.
Clear. Clear. And got that completely. And I love the point about really understanding that that your business is yours to care for and to cultivate, and it really is kind of like that. It really is like, yeah, like this is something that, and I know some people are out there thinking like, well, yeah, I mean, I love my kids way more than my business. That may very well be true, but when you think about it, one of the benefits of having kids is that one day you're gonna get old, and those
Hmm.
those jokers are gonna take care of you one day. And you could look at your business a lot like that, both in terms of like, hey, look, this is something that's going to take care of me, number one. Number two, um, it is something that if you manage it the right way and deal what there is to deal with, it will take on a life of its own. And you will come to the point where it'll seem like it has a life of its own. Like, wow, it begins to take on certain characteristics. It begins to have a certain culture. There is a sort of a life energy to it, and it really is helpful to look at it that way. And when you do look at it that way, you start to become concerned for like, okay, well, what are the various risks that
Hmm.
may befall it? What do I need to guard against? How do I make sure that I assure its safety and its continuity? So, Candy, if you could just kind of tell us a little for what are some of those risks that as a small business owner, as small business owners, mid-sized business owners that we should be considering dealing with, uh, protecting against?
Okay, well, one of the things is actually knowing the coverages,
Hmm.
or actually knowing what your business needs.
Mm,
Everybody doesn't need all the same coverages. Each
mm.
business has their own different type of coverages that they would need. That's why you would need an insurance broker to help you understand what coverages you need. For example, let's just use you for an example.
Sure.
Um, you have a business, but you don't have a brick and mortar business. So, for
Right.
example, you only need a general liability to protect your business, and because you are a professional, you just needed general liability, and then you need the errors and omissions because you're licensed in your industry. So
Hmm.
those were the two coverages that you need. But if you had like a brick and mortar, you might need all three. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that you're protected against, okay, the business would be protected and the operations where the business is under is protected, but then also you want to protect your own license. You want to protect yourself
Yeah.
because you have a license to do business in certain states, and you need to protect that too. um when you're coming in with the property insurance, you want to make sure that if you do have a brick and mortar, that the actual property is insured. For example, let's just say you have a brick and mortar and you have a you're on the street, and then you have the glass window on the street,
Yeah.
and somebody walks in, or I mean walks by, and something happens and the window gets broken out. Well,
Yeah.
you still need to keep that business going, so you need insurance to protect the glass window so that it won't be boarded up the whole time, so people can still see in the business. If you understand what I'm saying or getting that
Yeah.
pitch. Um, so it just depends on the business and what coverages that you would need um for that particular business. If you have a transportation business, or you have like a fleet of vehicles, okay, you wouldn't really necessarily need a general liability policy or a property policy. You would need a commercial auto policy. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? So it just kind of depends on the business. The risk that you would look at, it would be based off of your business. Like what kind of risk, well, what kind of business is it, to show you what kind of risk you would have,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, and there's a particular place in my heart, Candy, for you as insurance professionals. I know you've heard this before, but for the people listening, you may not. So I started off my career as back in those days they called us stockbrokers,
Mhm.
and as the industry evolved, they began to call us financial advisors.
Mhm.
And not only did the name evolve, but the types of services that we could offer evolved as well. So I started off as an investment guy, but I was around long enough to see sort of the evolution before I started working in public accounting, from just being able to offer, like, you had the investment people on one side, you had the banking people on one side, you had the insurance people on another side. You had
Mhm.
all these different groups that were separated, and they had to be separated by law. But when those laws began to be sort of repealed, everybody started doing a little bit of everything. And I used to kind of turn up my nose at insurance people saying, "Oh, you don't need that stuff, because anything that you uh, want to protect against, you can protect against just by developing a solid savings strategy." But that's what we had to do, because all of us were competing for dollars. So I think it was a good thing when financial advisors of all sorts started to sort of come together more, because what I
Mhm.
learned when I was allowed to start offering insurance, and I don't do insurance anymore. I'm strictly business consulting, but I do again have a deep appreciation for the insurance professionals, because one of the things that I started asking my clients, there were two big questions that I would ask each and every one of my clients or prospective clients when I would meet them. And this is a question I'm inviting you, dear listener, to ask yourself: is what happens if, God forbid, you don't wake up tomorrow?
Mm.
Just think about it for a second. What happens? I'm not asking you what insurance policies you have. I'm not asking you for how much coverage you have and in what areas. I'm asking you what happens. What actually happens? Is there a folder somewhere? Is there a file somewhere? Do your partner, do your loved ones know where to find the information that they need in order to move forward with their lives and mourn, as opposed to trying to look around and find everything or piece things together, or dig themselves out of whatever financial hole that you've since left for them? And
Mm.
so I began to appreciate the way people would have to deal with how seldom we plan for life's risks. And business owners, small business owners, are found are the biggest criminals with respect to this, not making sure that their businesses are effectively valued, and that they've actually put guardrails around it to make sure that that value then goes to the people that they love the most. The next question I would ask is, okay, now that we've started to answer that question, what happens in the more likely instance that you become incapacitated in some way, right? Because we live in an age now. The good news about medical technology is that we're living longer, but the bad news about medical technology is that we're living longer, and that very few of us are just going to pass away quietly in the night. There's going to be some process that we have to go through where we are incapacitated, and somebody is going to have to take care of us. What what what's your plan there? And very, very, very few people have plans for either of those things, even though we know they're coming.
Mhm.
And so there are those risks, but there are lots of other risks. Being sued in business is not an if, but it's a when.
Mm.
Having something happen that has you be liable, it doesn't necessarily mean it's your fault. It just means that you're liable. It's not an if, but it's a when. There are risks on all sides for us as business owners, and the more you grow and the more you profit, the more at risk you become. And so, Candy, I would just ask you, when you think about all that, all the risks that are there, and I think you kind of said it in your last set of comments, but I want you to just really build on that. Why is it so important to have a broker, somebody who can deal with? I'm looking over your shoulder and I see automobile, home, business, supplemental health, life, right? All of that. Why is it so important to have somebody who's steeped in all of those areas, from a broker standpoint, that is distinct from any other type of resource they may find?
Well, for one, the broker is an advocate for the client.
Mm,
So we look out for the client. We don't look out for the insurance company. So we want to
yeah,
make sure that the client has everything that they need. Now, do they want to spend the money to do it? Of course not. But
right.
at least they can go one place and say, "Hey, Candy, Do you have this? Yep, I do have this. I can
Mm.
offer this too. This can go with this. You know what I'm saying? So I have, and that's the reason I wanted to become a brokerage so that I could have a full service where I could do it all.
Mm.
And so when I look at different risks, or different businesses that come to me, it's just like I can start off with the business, and if the client says, okay, well, I'm squared away on my business, then that opens the door where I can go to their personal needs, or I could
Yeah.
go to their life insurance needs, or I can go to their health needs, and they have it all in one. And then it's just like we grow together as a family. We grow together where I get to know your business. I get to know what it is you specifically need and what you specifically don't need. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So, um, to answer your question, I feel like a broker would have everything you need. We have different carriers. We can shop different companies for you. It doesn't have to be just this one company, and whatever their rates are is that's who you have to go with. No, if I need to the coverage up because maybe this coverage is too high for you and maybe I can find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or if this company doesn't offer that, then I can find you coverage at another place.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I say, um, and I'm gonna be biased because I'm a broker and I
Yeah.
offer coverages. I think that a person should go to a person where they can get all of their needs met.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And certainly you have to trust who you're with. I mean, that's paramount, obviously. But provided that you do trust who you're with, you want to have people who have as many options as possible, as opposed to being in an operation to say, hey, look, everything you have is of our own design, and you take what we give you or nothing at all. So, yeah,
Exactly.
my experience is that all more options trump less options any day of the week. And I appreciate you saying that. And I've heard you say that too. I've heard it you say when certain lines become overly expensive, like, hey, look, we're not good at X anymore. If you want a Y and Z from us, we can take care of that. But I'll gladly refer you out to somebody else who can offer you a better deal than me. And that kind of honesty and that kind of integrity is what people need. So no, I get that completely. But tell me about workers' comp, Kandi. Like, what 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 in specifically is do people need to know about employees and making sure that they're covered from a workers' comp standpoint? Because I've had to jump in on a couple of workers' comps audits before, and they're not pleasant. So, what do you have to tell people about how to best make sure they're taken care of from a workers' comp standpoint?
Well, the question is, does a small business need workers' comp?
Mm,
What I find out, what I found over the years, workers' comp. If you have employees, it's mandatory that you have that you
workers'
have
comp.
comp.
Yeah,
But a lot of employees don't. They won't. It's expensive. They don't
yeah.
want it. I mean, and if they're a small business, it's probably too expensive for them to take on. But it's mandatory.
Mm,
Um, and the law does require it. I mean, you can shop different carriers. I mean, the rates are not that far apart, but you can shop different carriers just to see what the pricing is. But basically, if you have employees, you have to have workers' comp. Um, I have run across where um it's you don't the business doesn't have employees.
mhm.
And so they might be doing a service for another company, and that company is requiring them to have workers' comp. And then there's this thing like, well, why do I have to have workers' comp if I don't have any employees?
Yeah,
Because in order for you to get this contract, they require you to
that
have
you
it.
have it. Yeah,
And what you have to do is we can offer what you call a blanket. It's a blanket workers' comp.
yeah,
And so we can put it together, and because you are the owner of the business, or you're the one of the officers or directors of the business, you can actually exclude yourself. You're not going to sue your own self, but you can exclude yourself so the premiums would not be, I'm not going to say you're not going to have to pay any premiums, but they won't be as high.
I understand. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you for that, Candy. What about what are some other coverages that people need to be considering? Like, for example, I was very shocked when we last met about this to learn about the significance of cyber insurance. And I'm well aware. I mean, I knew why, but I wasn't shocked to see that it was available. But that it was as um, uh, just like, no, this is something that you absolutely need given the condition of the world. But like for cyber, like what are some other additional coverages that you think people should consider, but they don't typically consider?
Okay, so a lot of times what happens is people will buy like maybe a bot policy. A
Mhm.
bot policy is a business owner policy package. So it
Mm,
has all the bells and whistles with it. And sometimes they do have some type of cyber insurance with it. But what we recommend is that you, especially if you're dealing with clients' personal information,
yeah.
um it, it you need to have cyber the way they're attacking small bit and they go after small businesses because they know small businesses don't really have the fun. And I actually did an ethical training about it, but they go
Mhm.
after small businesses because they know small businesses don't really have the money and can't afford to actually get out of what they have, or if
Yeah.
they've been attacked, is what I'm trying to say. And
Sure.
so um if you have the cyber insurance, it protects the security and the data breaches. But the data breaches is what's really expensive. If you don't have that coverage, that can actually put somebody out of business.
Mm,
What happens is if you do have a data breach, you're gonna have to, all your clientele, you have to pay for services for the clientele.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? You have to pay for those services, and if you don't have that coverage, you might end up going out of business
yeah.
because you're on the hook for that.
It could be that just that detrimental.
It can, yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
a
both
lot of
from
a
a
lot of businesses, oh, I don't need that right now. I don't
yeah,
need that. But small businesses are the ones that do need it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Clear, clear. Any other ones?
I was thinking about if you have employees three or more and you're trying to retain talent.
Hmm.
um if you have some good employees in your, I mean, small businesses, they're I'm not going to say they're struggling, but it can be expensive for small businesses with the major medical health insurance. If you can't afford to offer benefits like that to your employees, there's always supplemental health care.
Mm,
You don't have to, it's not taken away from the medical, major medical, but it would be something to offer your employees. It could be little or no cost to the employer to
yeah,
bring that on, and you just need like three employees or more. That's a coverage that small businesses probably need to look into. And then what I've actually gotten into, well, I've had it for my own business, and I've been in my business 5 years, but I've
yeah.
actually had Legal Shield for 50. I've been with Legal Shield since 2015.
Mm,
But Legal Shield actually helped me start my business.
wow.
Yeah, I just called them and asked for the services, and they told me what I needed to do. It's just like an inexpensive way to have an attorney on retainer,
Yeah,
and you pay a monthly fee like you would do insurance, and they do all the documentation for you. They read contracts for you. They make collection notices for you. They do letters and advise you. So I've really been pushing that, especially towards small businesses, especially if they don't have an attorney that they have on hand, or
yeah,
if the attorney fees are too high.
yeah,
And then last but not least, an umbrella policy. Um, I think businesses should have an umbrella policy, because anything that, like, if they get sued and it's maxed out off of their general liability
mhm,
and their business owner policy, the umbrella policy would just cover that. And whatever exceeds the general liability and the umbrella policy, I mean, the bot policy, it will go into the umbrella policy. The coverage would become protect. The protection would come from the umbrella if it
yeah.
exceeds the general liability and the BOP.
Got it. All right. Well, cool. Look, I know you're just giving us a spoonful candy, but really, thank you for making a topic as mundane as insurance something that the people will actually want to hear. Because look, I heard you say a couple times, it can be expensive, right? But here's the thing: what in business can't be expensive? I mean, you name me something that's cheap. Somebody tell me what some cheap marketing is. Somebody tell me where some cheap staff people are. Somebody tell me where some cheap operational expenses are. Right? There's nothing that's cheap, and that's where we come in. So our whole thrust, our whole dynamic is to help you understand that for the necessary things that exist in your business, that you actually have the funds for them and that you understand what's necessary in order to make sure that you can afford those things. So many of y'all have heard me say before that we run businesses in a backwards way. There is a fundamental flaw in accounting where we say, okay, I need to go out and get the business, and that means I make my money. And then I need to go out and do the business, which means I spend my money. And then I'm going to cross my fingers and hope and pray that I end up with some profit at the end. And what I'm suggesting to you is that that is an absolutely backwards way to run a business. And now, when I say this to you, it's going to sound like what I'm saying is backwards, but it's the other way around. You certainly make your money because nothing happens until you sell something. But you take your money right off the top and you go put it into an account and you hide it from yourself. You take another chunk of money, you go pay yourself off of that. You take another chunk of money, you put it aside for taxes. And then the rest is your operating expense budget. Now, you might say, hey, look, based on what I know I've come in, I know I can't afford this, that, or the other thing. See, but what I'm saying to you is that you can afford it. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. But as long as you have the people around you, as long as you have the relationships, like a Kandi Keyes-Winford and some of the other folks that we'll introduce you to, we'll find a way to make it fit within your budget. There are ways to make these things work and maybe start at a small level and then build into something bigger as your business grows. But what matters as much as anything, what really has the value, are the relationships themselves. So I invite you all, look up Kandi Keyes-Winford, look up the Boston Insurance Group. Kandi, why don't you let people know how they can contact you?
They can reach me at email Kandi Kandi at tbosig. That's T as in Tango, B as in Bravo, O as in Oscar, S as in Sierra, S as in Sierra, IG.com. Kandi Kandi. Or they can call me at 312-448-7040. 312-448-7040.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll put that information in the post for this video, and really just contact her if you have policies that you need or want reviewed.
Yeah.
She's perfectly willing and available to do that. If you have questions, just if there are areas where you just know you're not covered, where you know things aren't quite covered the way that they need to be, give Kandi a call, reach out to her. She can assist with anything in the world of asset protection that you want. Because again, you want to start to build those relationships now for wherever you are, whatever your position is, because there's still growth to be had, and you want to, as that growth happens, you want to make sure that it's protected every step of the way. All right, Kandi, look, any final words for you as we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you, Omari. I appreciate this. This is awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome, and thank you for jumping on. Look, we'll have to bring you back at some point or another. But look, everybody, Kandi Keyes-Winford, the Boston Insurance Group. We'll see you later, and see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.